This started with a jacket and a gas pump. Sounds stupid, right? Two grown people, one kid, and a piece of clothing, and somehow everything exploded into the worst afternoon of my life. You'll hear the rest and think, yeah, that happened. But first, let me tell you who I am and how a normal Saturday turned into a fight I never asked for. Act 1. The Quiet Before the Storm. My name is Ethan Cole. I work as a federal investigator, boring title. Long hours, moral compass sometimes on wobble because the job chews you up. But on this Saturday, I wasn't the badge. I was a dad. My kid, Jamie, had crushed his semester finals. Straight A's, the kind of grades that make you proud and a little stunned like you did something right. So I treated him to a jacket he'd been stalking online for months, a slick black windbreaker that made him stand straighter just looking at it. We were headed to his grandma's for dinner. I was still in my suit from a morning meeting driving my stupid, flashy sports car. Don't judge, trophy purchases are complicated. And the day smelled like fall gasoline. Wet leaves, the kind of smell that makes memories stick. We pulled into a random, brightly lit pump, and Jamie was busy admiring the sleeve, flicking his wrist so the light hit the fabric. I was paying the attendant when a patrol car slid into the lot. Dramatic parking, 2 spaces lights off, but presence loud as a foghorn. Out stepped a woman in a narrow bun and a stare like she held a checklist of who didn't belong here. Her head tilted not toward the kid playing with a stroller, not toward the old man buying lotto tickets. She locked onto me, onto the car, onto Jamie's jacket like it was a provocation. She walked up hands on hips as if she owned the pavement. "Nice car," she said. But it wasn't a compliment. It was an accusation wearing small talk. I gave the tight, practiced smile you use when you know the conversation won't be pleasant. Jamie, bright and oblivious, leaned out the window, proud as a peacock. "Dad got it for doing a big job," he chirped. He had no idea he was about to become a punchline in someone's script. Her eyes slid to the jacket and a smirk cut across her face. "Big job, huh?" "What do you do?" The way she said it was not curiosity. It was bait. I told her calm and careful. "Federal investigator." She barked a laugh I would remember, short ugly. "Prove it," she said, then barked again, "Show license and registration." Act 2. The Turning Point. I told Jamie to hand me the registration. He moved slow, the excitement draining. The officer's gaze kept returning to the jacket, and then the thing you dread happened, she suggested. The jacket matched a description from a shoplifting at the mall. My skin cooled. I had bought that jacket an hour ago. I had the receipt. I reached slowly for my wallet. Slow, deliberate the way you want every civilian cop encounter to look. And she screamed, "Don't move!" Hands to the holster voice snapping into hysteria. In a heartbeat, the whole lot shifted. This woman tore at the jacket fingers, finding nylon like a predator, and with one hard yank the zipper split and the fabric tore with a sound that felt obscene. Jamie stumbled, stunned hand on his ruined chest, eyes huge. I moved toward him, 1 step, and she shrieked like she was in an action movie. "He's attacking me! He's assaulting an officer!" Her radio chirped, headlights flashed, neighbors turned their heads. Everything you fear about the world folded up and sat on top of you in that moment. I was a tall black man in a suit, loud with rage, standing near a blonde cop screaming for backup. Optics were brutal. Patrol cars rolled in. Officers jumped out, hands hovering near holsters. She told them I attacked her tears and tremble and everything staged to perfection. The sergeant came over, ordered me hands on the hood, and for a second I tasted aluminum and anger, thinking, this is exactly the story that turns into a courtroom headline and a mugshot slide. But then I did what you do when you've spent years inside institutions that live by paperwork and footage. I mentioned the cameras. The sergeant glanced up at the little dome over Pump 3. I told him calmly, "Grab the footage. I have the receipt. My name is Ethan Cole, federal investigator. I can show you my credentials." I pulled out my badge and ID, slow, respectful, the way you show blood in a poker game. That flick flipped faces. The sergeant's jaw went through a full orbit, from skepticism to a kind of terrified comprehension, and he said the words that felt like a small, cold victory, "Stand down." Act 2 continued. The aftermath you didn't expect. What followed was a blur of process. I filed complaints. Internal Affairs took statements. The video from the pump told the story clean and brutal. Her approach, her grab her act. She was fired. We got Jamie a new jacket. We tried to move on, but the internet doesn't move on. It magnifies, it weaponizes. A basement streamer named Patriot Beacon spun the incident into an epic me as a corrupt agent, the officer as a brave truth-teller. A carnival of lies with a cheering section of keyboard soldiers ready to dox to scream to rage. They made videos, wrote screeds, raised money for the wronged officer, and doxed my address, my wife's photos, my parents, the sorry mechanics who'd worked hard their whole lives. They turned a messy public incident into a war. I could have been meticulous and quiet as my boss advised. Lay low, we got your back. But this wasn't just about me anymore. They started tailing us, showing up in parking lots, filming Jamie at a skateboard park. People who hide behind screen names suddenly stood in public acting like agents of justice. I remember pulling into the skate park and seeing the tiny beige van idling two figures inside, the streamer in a cheap camouflage cap and the ex-officer in a pretzel shop shirt pointing a phone at my son. When Jamie called, voice shaking, "Dad, they're filming us." Something parental snapped into place. I drove over like a thunderstorm. Not to fight, but to protect. I called 911, reported harassment, and the filming of minors without consent calmly gave descriptions. The idiots bolted when real cops rolled up and the legal thread that had started unspooled into harassment charges, restraining orders, lawsuits. Act 3. The public reckoning. Then came the ridiculous thing. They announced they would confront me live at a charity gala I was speaking at for a youth mentorship program. They posted a plan, Operation Expose the Corrupt. They were so brazen it was almost funny. So I set a simple trap, let them perform. I coordinated with security and a couple people from my office, nothing flashy. Just eyes, cameras, and a sergeant who'd seen the pump footage. Let them come, let them talk, let the evidence sit like a mirror. They burst into the ballroom like clowns with microphones. Mandy clutching a binder of photocopies, the streamer live streaming to his 2,000 followers. The room stilled. Chandeliers, wine glasses, faces asking where this circus came from. He shoved a phone in the air. She launched into her rehearsed sob story. And I walked up, took a mic, and said 3 sentences. "Thank you for the entertainment. For the record, there is footage." I nodded toward the sergeant. He took the mic and spoke with the tired authority of someone who's done this before. He replayed the facts, pointed to the surveillance, to the receipts, to the report. The binder fell open, pages fluttered like bad confetti. They were escorted out. The live stream caught everything. The humiliation, the police walking them out, the murmurs turning into laughter. The internet chewed them up quicker than it had built them up. Crowdfunding shut down, channel donations plummeted, and the legal machinery did its work: fines, community service, mandatory counseling. Not the theatrical justice they wanted, but the kind that keeps people safe. Closing. What this really means. We walked out of that hotel and the city felt lighter. Months later, we ran into them again. Fate works in weird, petty ways. He was in a ridiculous inflatable costume dancing outside a mattress store, and she was behind a cheap counter handing out pretzels. Jamie clapped. We laughed. It wasn't triumphal gloating. It was relief, a deep exhale after holding your breath too long. This is more than a story about a ripped jacket or one cop's firing. It's about the shapes power takes when it meets prejudice. How quickly an assumption can become a narrative that ruins people, how the machinery of institutions can both harm and protect. It's about what privilege looks like when you have a badge or a camera or a voice that people will listen to, and the terrifying fact that most folks don't have that backup. I used the tools I had, footage, procedure, legal recourse, and that mattered. It won't for everyone. So, here's what I want from you. Tell me, was justice served? Was it enough? Drop a comment with your gut reaction. Disagree. If you want, tell me about a time you or someone you know got judged before being heard. Do you think the internet helped or hurt in this case? And if you've lived through something like this, share it. There's power in stories, And maybe in sharing we figure out how to stop the next jacket from getting ripped off.